welcome to the Family Cyber Clinic. And that's like, wow, I just recovered in time. For some reason, I had an audio problem before it all needed to start, but it's good. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that you are well. I'm making a very good assumption that you're well because you're here and you are willing and in the right frame of mind to, to learn. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to teach. I'm here to make sure that you are connecting. Now, I'm not now sure whether this is I'm just going to have to check to make sure that we are truly online, because as I said, I had an issue just before we kicked off. Let me see if we are online. Just do bear with me because I haven't seen anyone connect yet, so I have no choice. Okay, so we are online. Get on with it. I hope that you guys are all well. It gives me so much joy to connect with you each time. Okay, so I can see that we have some people. Yes, okay. That's good. Welcome. Good afternoon. Good morning from, because I know that some of this content is consumed by people across the world. So I'll just say like the Australians say, good day. Good day to you. Okay. All right. So you all saw the invite, and crucially, we're going to be talking about an issue that's prevalent, and because we've become so modern and very savvy, we don't anymore. And I'm keen to make sure that we understand that sometimes old school methods are really, really useful. And I don't want a situation where we abandon, the hands-on approach altogether because we don't think the young ones that are under our care have the time. Hi, Zachary. Good day to you. You see, they're closer to their afternoon. And good morning to Auntie Nora. Or actually, good afternoon to both of you. Okay, so the old method that we use, or old-fashioned methods that we used to use to communicate with our young ones, many would think or indeed conclude that they're no longer relevant. And I couldn't be further from the truth. The last video that we shared, I highlighted that at times just simply telling your young one, don't do it, and giving them a reason why they shouldn't do a particular thing is as effective, and I dare to say more so, than some of the tools that we have, like the parental controls. I mean, if I simply tell a young lad, don't go here, many will say that's not powerful enough and that the kid will just listen to you the moment you leave. They will go about doing what they want to do anyway. And that may be true, but there's still a place for communication and truth. Our young ones will be excited that we are, communicating. And so I thought it quite crucial in 2021 to make sure that we don't abandon some of the virtuous things that we had in place, that worked and worked very well. And I just want a situation where we can either go back to that or at least get some elements of that approach. And by approach, as you can see on the screen, I'm talking about family agreements or family contracts, where just like you have terms and conditions on websites that you visit or contracts that you sign, as a family unit that are close together, a family unit that are willing to work together, you have a family agreement about internet usage in the house and actually beyond. So it's not just what do we do in the home? No, that should transcend, or you should take whatever you're learning at home into the marketplace. And I can't see anything that will be so much more frustrating than doing something at home that brings good results and then going outside of the house and living a totally different life. I'd rather that whatever you learn at home that works, you take with you when you engage with your friends. And of course, I'm speaking now to the young ones, or at least the mentors who are, mentoring young ones, what they need to do, So it's crucial that we revisit. Some of us don't have the knowledge. Of course, that's why this channel or community exists. We are here to rub minds together and feed you with the information required to have that engagement. And of course, writing up a family agreement is crucially important, and I'll go over some of the things that will be in that family agreement. And you have websites, I think it's ChildNet, that actually have a sample of the sort of agreements that you can have whilst you're engaging with your young ones on their journey, their internet journey, I should say. So use the comments as we are doing a live show today. So it's live Q&A. I'm just giving background, and then of course I'm hoping that you would pass your questions through. And it's crucial. I kind of feel that this is the sort of content that, or niche, I should be in, or we should be in, because there's a lot of information on the internet, but people don't really touch on these, lifelong goodies, I call them, that have definitely had a huge benefit in family growth, or the whole family dynamic. And I'm thinking revisiting it can only be a good thing. Okay, so I welcome Charles, I welcome Valerie, and I welcome Juanita, who I'm sure are sitting on their new sofa. Oh, I didn't have to say that. But it's good to have you guys on board, and I know that you will be blessed just by engaging this wonderful day. Okay, so we're gonna walk through what you should do. We talk about things like transparency being the key to what we should do as a family. This community is all about the family. We're using this forum to equip parents first and foremost, so that they can be of benefit to their young ones. So whatever we're learning here has to be passed on to the young ones, no matter how busy they are. And I'm hoping that parents are also not too busy to make time for meetings like this, or webinars like this, live Q&As like this. This is all to make sure that we're armed to do what God has, placed, the responsibility has placed on us to, usher or direct these young ones. Okay, so a family agreement is not, in fact, someone, and I'll come back to a family agreement is not, someone left a comment on one of the videos, and in the comment he mentioned, I know it's a he mentioned that basically I'm wasting my time, that we're micromanaging. We want to micromanage our kids. We want to make them soft. And in fact, he used, I don't know who the person was, but again, that's why you're on YouTube. You're opening your doors, and of course, you mentioned you don't condone the we don't condone that sort of language. But I looked beyond the language and spoke to the issue he was raising, mentioning that we micromanage our young ones, and in doing so, we make them weak. And in a way, there's an element of truth in that, but that's not the focus. The focus is that we are on that journey. We're leading them to a place where they would grow to an extent where we can now release them. Okay? You don't, You don't relegate your family responsibility as the head of the home because you don't want them to see you as a micromanager. No, micromanage. You, the micromanager, will know when the young one is ready. And I've said this in several videos. I'll urge you to, go to the portal and, look at them. When you look at them, you will see a lot is around the family. We're promoting unity. And it's important that we're doing this without fear of commenters or people who put those comments. That's not supposed to put me off. Micromanage until you're sure that they are able to. Think about it this way. You will not just buy a bicycle for your young one and say, okay, daughter, son, here you go, break a leg. No, you're going to walk them through how to ride a bicycle. And that's as simplistic as I can go. You go with them on that journey. Teach them how to ride a bike. And then you will know when they're strong enough to do it solo. That's exactly the answer I gave, of course, a shorter version, but you get the drift, okay? So transparency is not a big ask, okay? I'm just going to go through some things that we, let's see if I can do this. I'm just going to see some rules that we can set. We're talking about, the family agreements or family contracts that we can have for internet usage. Please put your questions in the comments so that I can address them. And I'm hoping that we can have a very, very fruitful time. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. You guys are bonding. Pay attention. You guys are bonding in the comment section. But that's all good. I love that engagement. But please put your questions. And if you're putting a question now that you've kind of bombarded the comment section, which I want, put a Q just in front of your question so I can pick it up immediately and possibly even star it so that I can come back to it. Okay? So we're talking about rules. So we're going to have a family agreement that we're going to build together here online today. And so it won't harm you if you had your pen and paper and you write this down. And I hope most of you are sitting down with your loved ones, okay? If you don't and you're watching this on replay, please make sure you have your young one with you when you're watching this video, okay? So that you guys can go over this together. A family unit. This is directed at a family unit, okay? It will work if you already have something going, as in you have a relationship in that sense where you are transparent on other fronts. We're just bringing it into the internet arena, okay? But it's important that we have rules for internet usage. And that's what this family agreement is going to help us achieve, okay? So we're just going to, I'm trying to open the document, which is now playing up. But let me try and open it again. Okay, so we are working on setting rules about the ways we use technology as a family. That's where attention is, as a family. So make sure these two things are foremost when we're doing this. The two things to do when we are about to bring up or write out a family contract or a family contract around internet usage. The first is make sure that you're involving the young ones in drawing up the family contract or family agreement. This is not where dad says, I'm the leader and hence these are the rules. That may work for some families, even though the clinic frowns at it somewhat, but involve them, certainly on the internet front. So other fronts, it may work for you, but on the internet front, it has to be a we. So bring the young lads into the discussion. It even makes it more fun. So, and you'll find that the young ones being involved in setting the rules will help them feel that their opinion matters. And that validates them. They feel part of the process, okay? It would help them understand why there are rules in the first place, okay? And if it kind of feels fairer and more enticing to get them involved, they'll want it to work, okay? Because they've set it. But if you just tell them this is going to happen, and believe me, I think I may have said that if my young ones are online. I may have said that at the beginning or the onset of our young one's internet journey. This will happen. Then gradually you see that they're more open and are more pliable when they feel that they are part of the process. Okay, telling them this will happen it's not sensitive enough. Okay, and some of us we do it. Some of us being parents, we do it without giving an explanation. This is it. You just dictate this is going to happen, and you find that that will have detrimental results, which we don't want. So the family contract or agreement has to have the young ones involved in making up the contract. It's also really important, this is the second point, really important that the adult does and complies with what is written in the contract. So you're not drawing up a contract and saying, in this house, this is how you use the internet. And then behind the scenes, you are doing exactly the opposite of what you're telling your young one. It's confusing. If you put yourself in their shoes, it's sincerely confusing. So you must do as you've written, do as you say, and you find that they will also comply. After all, dad and mom are doing it. It's probably not the best example, but it's the only one that I feel would jump out. Eating downstairs, for example, having dinner downstairs or any meal for that matter, I'm ensuring, this is not internet of course, but making sure that everyone is having their meals on the table or at least downstairs is a rule. But the rule, certainly in our house, it worked out so beautifully when we, the parents, made sure we were not going against that rule. So everybody is doing their eating downstairs. And that quickly took care of an issue, you know. Don't forget eating together and all that, or insisting that it's downstairs means that there's a central place where meals are consumed, which would mean that's potentially a place that families can gather. So there's virtue in making sure that you, the parent, are doing or complying with the rules or the contract that has been set. The children will always copy what we do, and they'll pick on it. Mom, but you didn't do it, or dad, you didn't do it. And you know, in the developed world, our young ones are bold to ask those questions, and we must entertain them as as loud as it will be because of our upbringing. We welcome it. We ought to welcome questions so that they will understand and learn. Okay? So those are the two things that must happen. Involve the young ones in drawing up that contract or agreement. And then secondly, you, the parent, must do what you are asking everyone in the house to do. All right? Okay. I'm also going to cover some things that I believe can be an impediment. I see that there is a question, but I'll come to that shortly, okay? There's some things, and I think I touched on this on a different topic entirely with my lovely wife recently. The things we say, there are ways to say it to our young ones that will get them flowing. We're still talking about family agreements. We're still talking about family contracts around the area of internet usage, okay? So it's important that we choose our words carefully. I'm not saying be fake, but make sure that your words are welcoming, they are open, inviting, so that our young ones will find some interest in engaging with us, okay? So we need to understand what rules we're going to be setting to use the internet safely. This is what will be in the content of the agreement. What rules do we need so we are all using the internet securely or safely? What do we think should happen if someone breaks the rule or doesn't stick to the rules? And then why do we think it's a good rule? These are like conversation starters, you know? Why do we need these rules? What happens? What are the repercussions if someone does not comply to the rules? Those are the things that you will put in the contract. And let me give you some examples. Always have your door open when using devices. So when you're on your smartphone, when you're on your tablet, your laptop, of course, the clinic recommends that if you're using computers as a family, these days, I don't even know whether this advice is even very consistent with the times we're in, because it's so hard not to give your young ones their own individual device because of school. But then you can see how family agreements will still help instill some decorum in the house, because everyone is disappearing to their room to study. Now, but if you have internet usage agreements, then those are still standardized. But in those days, at least a year or two ago, our recommendation in the clinic was, if you have families, make sure there's a family computer in a central place. And if you have it in a central place, then you don't have the need for what I've just mentioned as number one, where you always have the door open when you're on your devices. That's no longer practical as I would have loved it to be, because schools are insisting that kids have their own laptops and all. But what that just meant, what that helps to achieve is what you're seeing on the screen: transparency. Having your door open when you're on your devices, watching a movie, doing that, would mean that you're transparent, because everyone will know and see what you are up to. And that means you are accountable. These are things that are all crucial to the family dynamic, okay? Another rule, that's one that goes on. Another rule that we may look at is put devices away during meal times. So when you're having family dinner, family lunch, you cannot use your device, because that goes against what you're trying to achieve on the table when you're gathered. That's family time, not device time. You can't be on an island when you're having dinner on the table. You must make sure you're part of that family meeting. Yes, it's dinner or lunch, but it's still a meeting. Okay, so that's a rule. No devices, or rather device use during dinner or meal times. Okay, that's a second one that could go on to that family agreement or family contract. Then make sure all devices are downstairs at bedtime. Again, I know the semi-younger ones, who are soon to be adults, will laugh at this. That's just not practical. So perhaps it's not practical for you because you are at a certain age. I'm talking to the young one now. But you have the under 10s, you have under 8s, under 7s. You have people who are a lot younger, who are not really ready and who are still complying with bedtime and all that stuff. So this information is for them. Do you understand? You don't take your devices into the bedroom. The bedroom is for sleep, rest, and refreshment. Not orange squash. Refreshment. Refresh your body after a long day. Okay? So you can put that in the family agreement or family contract concerning internet usage. And we've discussed screen time. You know, things that these providers, have put on the phones to help us manage how much time we spend looking at those small screens. And of course, there's a video that you can watch after, during the replay. You can watch that just to get more education. So make sure all devices are downstairs at bedtime. And then this is crucial. We've also shared a lot of videos on the dangers that are just, out there. We encourage our young ones. So you put there in as part of rule, that's rule 4, tell someone if you see or read something that worries you. Sometimes you have kids who are so embarrassed at what they've seen, they keep it to themselves and don't tell the parent. And that is a frightening thought. As I said, there are lots of videos where that behavior grows into a very dangerous thing. And that's why I said transparency, accountability, openness, communicating with the young one is key. So if you invite them to tell you or tell someone as part of your rule, family engagement rule, anything they see, no matter how disgusting, no matter how embarrassing, because at times, one of the reasons why they won't tell you is for fear that you're going to judge them, that they knowingly went there. Do you understand? But if you have an open relationship with your young one, you find that that's not going to be the case. Besides, it's in the rules or the contract or agreement that you have drawn up. So you put there that everyone on the internet, the young ones especially, of course the adults are involved, because at times an adult may see something that they don't want to be seen again. Of course, adults can handle it better than, well, I pray that the adults can handle it better than the younger ones. But crucially, the adult may want to prevent the information coming in the first place, and the things that you can do to prevent the likes of YouTube serving you that kind of content, or even Google serving you that kind of content, and God forbid, serve our young ones that kind of content. There's a lot of things that we can do to prevent that. But importantly, if you put in the rules that the young ones should tell someone if they see or read something that is just worrying, okay? That's a good example rule to put in our template, okay? And the final one that I'll share is that the young ones, or everyone for that matter in the house, should be open about what they're looking at online if someone asks. So if I bump into my young ones, well, it's no longer relevant to me now, but just a parent in the community, you bump into your young one whilst they're online, and you ask them, you've seen something that on the screen, you ask them, what are you watching? What are you looking at? The young one should not feel awkward at the question. The answer should just be innocent. The moment there is a delay or hesitation, then there's a problem. Transparency means that there's nothing off limits. And that's what we're encouraging our young ones to do. We want them to be transparent. We want them to be comfortable. And so we must have that open door policy where they can come and tell us all that they are up to. As I mentioned, ChildNet, I'll post the link in the description once we complete this session. By session, I mean the whole video. You can find a template that works for you. If you look at the templates available on ChildNet, you see one that you can adapt or modify to suit your own family dynamic. Okay? So it's important that we follow those rules. Follow the rules that you're just about setting, and that's just samples. It's not like that's the holy grail. No, I'm just helping you build things that will work for your own family. Okay, it's important to adapt things that will work for your family, because at times you have family setups that both parents are not at home at the same time, or the internet is a bit dodgy, so you need to use Wi-Fi, 3G or 4G or 5G. So that could alter or affect some of the rules you set or you get to set, because we're talking about internet usage. If there's no internet, then rules are really redundant. What kind of internet do you have? Do you have Wi-Fi, or do you have, hotspots, your 3G, 4G, and 5G? All that will affect the rules that you're setting, and that's where I'm going with that, okay? So it's important. I started by saying that it's important to involve the young ones in drawing up these family agreements or contracts, and make sure that they feel a part of the solution or the process. And then secondly, you as a parent must do as we say they should do when we are drawing up those rules. And I've given you samples of the sort of rules that you can put in your contract or agreement. Have the door open anytime you're using devices if it works for you, if it's relevant to your own family setup. Put devices away at meal times. Make sure all devices are downstairs at bedtime. Tell someone if you see or read something online that is just off, okay? And then lastly, be open about what you are looking at online if asked. What are you looking at? Oh, Mom, I'm doing homework. We're supposed to look for, Mom or Dad, information that will help build a story in the question or assignment that you've been given from school. Easy, even though I hesitated a bit. There shouldn't be any hesitation. Okay? So I believe on the basis of just introducing this, you have enough to run with. Okay? If I need to revisit this, I'll do so. I did say that our language, how we present some of this information to our young ones to make it palatable, is very key. And at some point, I would touch on judgment, blame, and shame, playing that game with them. That's very dangerous. But before I go into that, let me look at the comment section to address some of the questions. Okay, and I can see Zachary has asked a question. Let me see if I can bring it to the broadcast. I can, but it's not looking. Let me put it, where do I put it to make it okay? Don't know whether that's okay. Should be. Just making sure I can see it. Let's see. Show, hide all utility. Okay, I'm just making sure I can see it so that I can read it out. Please forgive me. Hide all utility windows. That doesn't help me. Comments. Oh, it does. Okay. Okay, so let's come back again. Anyway, Zachary asked this question. Okay. He's saying, would the clinic classify paparazzi as social media? Is that paparazzi? I'm sure. I'm just moving closer so I can see it. Would the clinic classify paparazzi as social media? It is starting to be used in schools, and I was curious to how we can keep our children safe. I wish I could pull Zachary to the screen, as in invite him. I don't know whether that's going to be possible, man. No, let's not show off. But Zachary, I'm guessing that, and I haven't, admission, I don't know anything to date about what I suppose is an app, but whatever it is, I believe you're trained enough to know. And that may not be the case for some of our attendees or the members of this community. You may not know enough about that app, I'm guessing, because it's not paparazzi, which are photographers who are a nuisance. I think this is just an app. It's starting to be used, you say, in schools, and you were curious to see how we can keep our children safe. You've given me an assignment. I will definitely go and dig deep and find out the origins and the impact that this app can or is having on our young ones. It's a bit like TikTok. I remember sharing a video on TikTok and what I thought about it at the time. And so this will not be a pain for me. I will definitely dig and find out. And so we would engage. I would respond to that comment and make sure that the community would gain from the answer I find. Okay? I hope that helps, at least in the interim, unless there's more light you can shed on that. But if it's too long, then let's do this offline via the comments, and I will feedback accordingly. All right? Okay. So we have, yes, he says it's a new app where people can, maybe show you so you can see me. This is Zach. He says, yes, it's a new app where people can post pictures of you and others. With your permission, I'm hoping, because that would be worrying. Yeah. It's just that I haven't prepared to bring a guest. I would have told Zachary to jump online and get this to you guys, but let's not do that. I think you're sufficiently giving me a breakdown of your... Yes, so it's a new app. New, that's why I haven't heard of it, but it's now on my radar. And if it's uploading pictures, as long as the pictures that you've consented, you've said can be used, and that's why we've got to be careful. Remember, I've shared that the internet does not have a delete key. So if this information is being uploaded, it's there. minimum, I guess, from what I've gathered, 6 years, even after you've requested that it be deleted. And don't also forget that people can do screenshots of these pictures. So even if the vendor deletes it, you still have, or people still have copies, local copies, so be careful if you're sharing information with any social media app, or any app for that matter. Make sure there are pictures that are public worthy, things that will not come back and bite you in the future. We've had stories of, these days, people, even employers, use the internet to find out history about potential employees. Imagine if an employer scans the internet and sees illicit images of you. Not knowing whether you've consented, they could make a decision. No one needs to know that they have already made up their mind. They just make a decision. For the believer, of course, it's not such a problem. What is yours will be yours. No one can get in the way of what God has for you. But still, we've got to be wise, okay? I hope that has helped. Hello, everyone. Greetings from New Jersey. Hey. Good to have you on board. Good to have you on board. Another YouTube user. It says the Queen. Okay, I can't see. I can't pull it closer because it will start making glary issues, or having glary issues on my glasses. That's why I always lean in. But yes, we greet you from MJ. I'm guessing that's New Jersey. Okay. Zacharias confirmed again. He says you give permission to people. We're still talking about that app. You give permission to people to post pictures they have of you to your account. A bit like the tagging feature on Instagram. So it's social media. So that answers your first question. It is social media. And then secondly, if you follow the guidelines I've given in my previous answer, ultimately you should be okay. Do not share stuff that's not public worthy. Keep private things private, and if it's public worthy or can be in the public domain, then so be it. Okay, good stuff. Now I want questions around the family. We're sharing. For those of you who are just arriving, we're talking about internet usage family agreements, okay? And if you remember and I hope if I go there, I don't lose you, but this is family, okay? So that is what we're focusing on. And I'd love to hear questions around your attempts or lack thereof, and see how we as a clinic can help you. But these are the things that, and when you consume this information, we want you to make sure that you're also passing this information to your friends and family. That's crucially key. So you become a conduit of getting this information out, not just leaning on what YouTube and Facebook are able to do. We welcome that, absolutely. But there's also power in you passing these links to your friends and family, making sure that they're part of this, learning process, okay? So questions around that, or any questions for that matter, I don't want to pigeonhole you. If you don't have questions around that, any other questions you have before I pull back again and talk about the things we say to our young ones and how we must communicate effectively with soft language, with love behind all that we're saying. That's key. I won't wait. I'll just go. If it comes, it comes. That way I'm not putting pressure on myself or you. Oh, thank you, Valerie. You've saved us. So I come back. Valerie says, how do we instill? Is that instill? Let me see if I can make it bigger. How do we instill trust in our children so that they are transparent with us? How do we instill? Wow, that's a deep question, but it's I particularly know, and that's why I said, you notice I didn't say family agreements full stop, because I don't think I can micromanage what you do as a family in other areas. I can have an impact, but you're doing a brilliant job already. If you had a specific example then I can give my opinion based on that example. But generally, instilling trust is not a flesh matter. As you do know, absolutely know, you do know, it's not flesh that drives it. It's not something that we're able to do unaided by the Holy Spirit or by God's help. I trust that there's some matters, especially in families, matters that the starting point is a trust in someone bigger. So if you have the trust in God and your young ones, or a relationship with God that's healthy, and your young ones see that connection, it's easy for them to trust you. You understand? So they're trusting what you're trusting. And that for the ones who are not too spiritual in that sense, because I don't want to exclude necessarily, a more general answer is it's work that you and I as parents have to do. Okay, so instilling trust, your word is your bond. You tell your young one, do this, and you get this. When they do it, they get that. And you are saying something and meaning it and actually living it, so they see an example being lived in front of them. The trusting will come behind the scenes. They see all that they see. Okay, so like I mentioned, you can't set rules. You can't ask or have demands or put demands on them, and you are not acting as you say they should. That's confusing. And I think that's where trust and chaos can be introduced. Okay, so that's a general answer. The spiritual answer I've already given. That's a deeper issue. And I know many members of the community have that take. Okay, so instilling trust, do as I do, not just as I say. Do as you say. I don't know how they say it, but you get the idea. And some older ones here will know. Don't do as I do, don't do as I say. Is that how you put it? But be an example. Hey, that's easy. Be an example. When they see it being manifested in how you are living it out, they will be attracted to it. Okay, that's a long answer to what should be a short question. How do we instill trust? So I've answered that. Patricia asks, let me see if I can says, what will you suggest be the way to tackle any violation of the contract without breaking the child down? Beautiful question. And if we don't have time to address it, beautiful question, Patricia. If we don't have the time to address it, I will put some information in the comments after this. But that's a crucial question. So Valerie, I hope my answer initially helped. Let me look at your second. It says, how do we... we'll close with Patricia's question. Valerie has followed up. How do we get them comfortable that they can be open about sharing what they have seen with no fear? Again, brilliant question. Behind the scenes, you're doing the bidding on your knees. That's the success story that happens for those who have that relationship, evidently. So you're doing that bidding. But as I say, when you live out the what you are saying they should do, and this is just not internet usage, because your question goes beyond internet usage. If they are transparent in other areas in the house or other key areas of life, then the internet usage should not be a difficult issue, because that trust has been built already. It will just translate in internet terms, okay? But you being the head, or at least you being the parent, you've got to live exactly what you're asking them to do, and they'll see that and connect. Okay, when they see you come down to their level, I'm not saying relegate your role as a parent. A parent is a parent. I'm not a big lover of that term. My parents are my friends. That doesn't compute with me in my head. I don't know why, but it doesn't. A parent is a parent, but you can still have a healthy relationship as a parent and a young one. And once that is strong, every other thing feeds off that. So I don't think it will be a problem. But talk about it. If it's an issue, always encourage them. Have that open door policy so that they will always bring those matters to you. Okay? The open door policy, if they don't feel comfortable telling you stuff, then that's a problem, which I know is what you are trying to address. So have an open door policy. And this is where the shame thing will come in. And I'm hoping that I can cover it in the next 15 minutes, but I'm very keen to address Patricia's question, which I'm going to put there again. So Patricia has asked, what would you suggest be the way to tackle any violation of the contract without breaking the child down? It's important, like I mentioned, as part of the rules that included in that family agreement or contract, you have stated what those consequences are, okay? So for example, if a device has been used to break a device, a smartphone, a tablet, or PS4, whatever the device is, the young one has gone against what you've broken down as possible rules. The repercussions are the device gets put out of commission for a stated time. This will not work for all the kids because some kids are older, and doing that, as you will find when I go back and try and quickly go over the shaming and the condemning and all that, choosing our words, they know that's the deal. They've broken the rule, and you're consistently following what's stated in a rule because you've published it as a family rule, okay, in that agreement. And so it shouldn't be difficult for them to understand because they were part of drawing up that rule, which is important, or the rules, that you engage them so they're part of the process. So if they break it, in fact, you don't even have to tell them what to do. Mama did this, Dada did this. I'm just going to keep the phone or whatever in the naughty person's basket or something. Whatever it is you've written out in your rule, and they will comply. But they know that it's a process. So it's not something you've dictated or something that has come out of the blue. That's why it's difficult to achieve these things if you've not had these discussions with your young ones. As I said, most parents are quite the dictators. I've taken your phone because I can take your phone. That used to work. And in fact, for some families, regrettably, it can still work. But making the child understand why you're doing it, it tastes better. Even just saying it, you can hear it. It just tastes better. Okay? So coming back to, and I'll sort of touch on both, but if they violate the rule and you are now just following what you've written, there shouldn't be a bother. If it's a problem, you have to remind them that we drew this up together and that we've got to stick together. Don't forget, you're drawing up these rules so that the rogue does not get into your system. Because when you break the rules, some of the rules that you are setting are helping you to be secure on the internet. And if you break the rules, it just doesn't affect you, or rather, it doesn't just affect the child, it affects the whole family. The internet is supplied for the family's use. So if a bug or an internet rogue gets in through you breaking that rule, it affects everyone. And so until the young one understands, perhaps that's why you have the rule breaking entry. If the rules have been broken, perhaps the young one needs downtime from using the internet because they've forgotten how to keep the internet in the house secure. So rather than just take the phone and do nothing, because that's confiscation, as good as that may sound, perhaps the young one needs training. So use it as an opportunity to train them up to avoid the issue and tell them exactly why the phone has been taken, because she or he, the boy or the girl, are bringing or exposing the internet security in the house. And once you feel that they've been trained up sufficiently enough, then you give them back the device. As I said, this may not be practical for some of the young ones because they need the phone for school, for example, need the phone for whatever reason. But for each case, individual case, deal with it based on what you have agreed as a family in the contract, okay? So I'm going to quickly talk about shame. I hope that has addressed your question, Patricia, somewhat. If it hasn't, please put it down in the comments, and of course, I'll revisit it, okay? So I'm going to give us samples of things that we can say to our young ones, because as I said, this will help Patricia's question, and indeed Valerie's, okay? So you avoid judging them, you avoid blaming them, even though it's quite clear it's their fault. And I don't want this to sound fake, because we have younger ones who may come across this content. But avoid judging them. That's a virtue. Avoid judging them or blaming them, or indeed shaming them. Okay. So when we speak to our children, whatever they tell us, let's never imply that they're responsible, even though they are, or never say that they are to blame. For example, if a child mistakenly shares a picture, Zachary has brought up this app, and you share an inappropriate picture to whoever it is on the other side of the app. You've shown them a picture that's not appropriate, and perhaps even illicit in content, and you find out as a parent. You don't blow your fuse. You don't say things like, "Give me your phone. I'm deleting that app. You're not using your phone. It's not safe." If someone asks you for a video and you send it, then you've only got yourself to blame. Shame on you. You're wrong. You're naughty. It was bad that you did that. That's strong. There's no middle ground as far as that young one is concerned. And the truth, interestingly, could be that they did it innocently. But already, because you've blown the fuse, you've sent words that are not healthy into that child's life. So instead of saying it that way, you could say it this way. Why do you like using the app? I just want to know. Why do you like using that app? What kind of things do people talk about, or what sort of images in general are allowed on that platform? No adult on the internet should, ask you to do anything illicit online or send them images that they have no business. Keep all the things that are private to you private. And that's if you compare that to the first approach, there's sensitivity in how you have spoken, and you still get the same results, but you have connected. The child feels, and this is where Valerie's question, I hope, gets answered. The child feels comfortable because you're understanding. You're not judgmental. You're not shaming them. You're not making it about them. You're making it about the internet rogue, because that's the enemy. The enemy is the internet rogue who use that information or mistake to their advantage, and you want to prevent that. Okay? So instead of saying strong, presenting it in a strong way, be gentle. You obviously can, and you have others that will use this approach. This is what we're saying you shouldn't say. So instead of saying, "I can't believe you did that. Why did you do that when you know it's not safe? What a stupid thing to do. You are stupid." That's heavy. There's no life in it. And the child will feel condemned and shamed. But rather than do it that way, you can say this. "I'm really glad you told me," and this should address Patricia's question. "Really glad you told me. Well done." It may sound patronizing to some of the young ones who see this content, but yes, say it and mean it. "Really glad you told me. Well done for telling me about this. It can't have been easy. It couldn't have been easy for you to tell me what happened. So now, what happened? Tell me, let's work it out together." So they were wrong to ask you to present those pictures. They were wrong. They were wrong. No one should ever ask you to do something like that. It's always okay to say no. They are to blame. Would you like a hug, beauty, or whatever it is you call them? Can you see how I've painted it? I said say it and mean it, because at the end of the day, you are their caretakers. You are God's gift to them to gently usher them through the world. And since we're focusing on the internet journey, on that internet journey, okay? So avoid criticizing. Be gentle. Don't be judgmental. And you find that naturally they'll come, okay, mom's not going to judge me, dad's not going to judge me, so there are repercussions. Let them not be fooled. If you're young and you're watching this, don't be fooled. There are repercussions, but we want to work with you because we know that the internet is quite negative. It's a dungeon. It's busy. It's chaotic. So we'll work with you. We'll be gentle, but there are repercussions. Don't forget you have family agreements and contracts. You must live out the consequences. But in doing so, you've got to be gentle, okay? We're running out of time. I hope that has addressed your questions. This has been interestingly for me, when I built this up and decided that this is something that we're going to be doing going forward, I was quite hesitant, because if it's a live Q&A, if I do all the talking, then it's not really a Q&A. But you can see how giving you the background and having your questions, I've been able to build it all in. And it has worked out, in my humble view, the way it ought to, okay? So we have a responsibility. I've touched on things that we must do. The two key things is that we must involve the young one in drawing up these family contracts, and we must do as parents as we're asking them to do. And I gave you sample rules, make it up as it pertains to your own family dynamic. And ultimately, you find a way. In there, throw it in. What are the repercussions for breaking the rules? Let it be public from day one, okay? And then if you find that they're breaking those rules, be gentle as you correct them. But the repercussions and consequences have to be observed accordingly. Of course, after a while, for those who are going to comment and say this is micromanagement, this is going to weaken the child, and etc., at some point, you gather enough courage as a parent to know that your young one is mature enough to go it solo, okay? This has been, I say this and I mean it, a blast. I've enjoyed it. It just feels right to pour into your life. So if you have questions following this, please put them in the comments. Remember I said that it's important that we engage, okay? We have to engage. Good stuff, okay? We never end our broadcast without giving you an opportunity to be a part of this community. And I know that it's easy to say, okay, why do we have to subscribe? Why do I have to share? I'm not going to stop doing it because I know that apart from the end game, the end goal of getting this content, giving us the ability as a clinic or as a YouTube channel to be able to monetize, I've not hidden that from you. But what drives me even the more is that we have opportunities to engage and teach each other. You can't have enough knowledge. Teach each other so that we are armed to go on this journey to, prevent these rogues from messing up our family experiences on the internet, okay? So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Always check to make sure you're subscribed because you could say you are, but you're not. But like the content if it's been of benefit to you. Don't forget to share this content with your loved ones. And I mean that, with your loved ones. In fact, I was going to say even with your enemies. Make sure that they are also equipped because we don't want these rogues to have a foothold in anything that we do as a family. I hope this has been beneficial. Needless to say, it has been because I've seen what you have put down in the comments. I remain your very, very excited host, Lawrence Edem. All the people who have been a part of today's live Q&A, you've been the best, okay? Make sure you keep safe. We're gradually coming out of this lockdown, and I think things are opening up. As they do, things are still going to be what they are on the internet, and hence we need to keep safe. So keep your family safe. Don't forget, love each other, all right? God bless you. Until next week's video, goodbye.